Then first, welcome everybody to the KCP community meeting on Thursday, July 16th. As always, this meeting is governed by the CNCF Code of Conduct, which boils down to let's be excellent to each other. With this, do not have any new meeting attendees, so we'll straight jump into the first topic. Lubomir, the stage is yours.
Thanks. So some backstory downstream, we wanted to use cache resources. We're kind of debating whether it's a good idea because it's alpha. And I started doing some testing and research to understand if it's a good idea or not. My testing was kind of limited to a single shard, I guess. So I opened the thread and also I did some searching for existing tickets. I couldn't find anything. So it appears that there was some hidden story behind them. So I opened the thread. It's like MJ and Robert started a conversation, which is that, yes, there are some things that we want to do before graduating to beta. And also there are some like corner cases, which I would like us to discuss. I want to understand what is the current state, what I can assign myself to work on. And so my idea would be to try to help to get them to beta, and we can start using them downstream. But also I do have a workaround, which is just like what's maximal permission policy with RBAC on the provider side, and then a virtual workspace that can go and fetch whatever objects someone has permission for. It's not super elegant, but it works. So yeah, I wanted to understand. Robert already posted some comments here, of which I understood only the first one really well. But yeah, if somebody has comments, please go ahead.
Let's check the ones. So scoping. So basically, currently cached resources, they must be cluster scope CRDs. That because there are some limitations in the aggregation layer and the storage layer. So we said like, yeah, let's drop namespace once and it's cluster scope. So leading to that, I think we chose the name wrong because we want to support namespaced ones and at some point, because it requires a lot of work. So we might want to rename it the cached resources to cluster cached resources. So it's implicit, like this guy delivers a cluster scoped resources, and in the future, we reserve ourselves for cached resources for namespaced ones. Identity ownership, I don't think that's blocking. Yeah, this second and third one, I don't think it's blocking. It's more when you have, I think, resources in different workspaces. I think Robert has some improvements in mind on that. But those, I don't think are blocking. We can add them and change them later. The only one is the name, which I would say it's even. So if we can actually just rename it because it's behind a feature flag, it's alpha. And if that's enough, I don't see reasons why we can't promote it basically to the next one. The flakes one, I think that got fixed or not.
Well, the ticket is still open. My fix was naive dump of the timeout, and the ticket was reopened again.
Yeah, the flakes, I didn't see them for a while now. The one you posted. It's from February. And
yeah. So there is a PR link to it. Or multiples actually. But Robert reopened it.
yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately, Robert is out today. Otherwise, we could just ask him.
But for a naming one, I think it's quite straightforward. Like if we just stab the rename, PR, merge it, and just call it a day, I don't see why. Why not?
Yeah, I can do that. That's not an issue. You also mentioned that there's some, I couldn't understand that either very well. You said that in multi-shard setup, there's some sort of replication clashes, or what's happening?
No, we had quite a few issues in a multi-shard setup. So I think I addressed most of them in a PRs, and they should be fixed. But my argument is like, I don't know what I don't know. There might be more. Because when the whole cached resource is how we work. Once you mark the resource in your workspace, they're being sent to the cache server and they're being pulled into every shard. And there is quite a lot of aggregation machinery involved. And depending on if you're on the shard where the object originates from, or shard where object coming to, or shard replica, which is a follower, not a leader, there might be component behavior differences. So my idea is like, I don't know if there is any other lurking issues out there in a multi-shard setup. If there is, we're gonna just go and fix it. But if you're not running multi-shard setup, you should be good.
We actually want to move to multi-shard, and it's work in progress, but I don't know the timeline specifically when it's going to be ready.
It's honestly speaking, this feature is left in a flag as it is, like alpha and behind feature flag, because of lack of testing in a bigger setups. Like if you test it and you say like all green on our fronts, I think there is no reasons just to upgrade it.
Okay.
Because the original requester of the feature, they're still there. They went a bit dark and they like priorities change. You know how things happen.
So, okay. I also wanted to understand, are there cases where a cached resource could be really out of date? Is that going to be a case where we have a lot of pressure on the shards? Like is this a plausible case? I guess I'm going to test it, but
it's the same as with any other resources.
exactly.
Like if you update the API export schema example, it will be distributed via cache server and pushed out. So yes, there might be cases where schema changes, something changes, and it's out of date until it propagates through the system. So I think it's constrained with the same constraints as the rest of the KCP's basically machinery.
Okay. I can send that in NPR, open it maybe tomorrow. Do we have any other comments from the others? I don't know if, do you know if there's production usage elsewhere of this feature?
I use it in production, like on my personal projects, it's running there. I've been poking it quite a lot. Hence the bug fixes and all the stuff in the last 6 months. I said the original one, original request went a bit dark. So I didn't want that to have it like a stale feature, so I kind of forced myself to use it.
I think one thing to propose for sure, as Robert is returning next week, so we could definitely, I think it's definitely reasonable to ask him to flush out some of his ideas as sub-issues from here. And then I think we'll maybe have a better grasp of it. Because my understanding is also that there are things, for example, like the rename you are doing already, or you would be doing now. And then I think we have Robert's ideas captured, and then the community can work on them to figure it out. Because I think it's valuable to have his input on it. What he sees.
This sub-issue rename, is it created today, or I didn't see it before?
This I just created in this meeting 5
yeah.
minutes and assigned it to you. That's how quick it flows here.
Okay, I will definitely take this. Robert, I want him to also add additional sub issues. I don't know if these are specifically for the beta or we should create another epic. But
Let's wait until he comes back Tuesday. Once he flesh it out, we can basically asynchronously decide. My original take was it wasn't, but let's see what kind of changes he has in mind and if it would be API breaking changes or not. I think finger in the air rule is if it doesn't break API, it's okay. If it breaks an API, it's not okay.
yeah, from my understanding, he wanted these. The second and the third one were nice to have. I think, according to him, for the beta. But yeah, we can talk about it more. I
Yeah.
need to understand him. Right, I have what I needed. Thank you very much. I will open the PR as soon as I can.
I think MJ, no, sorry. Yes, MJ, you have the next topic.
This one is more like a Latmus test quick style. Like I've been asked like if KCP would be willing to put up this page with something like that, like companies who are willing to support KCP commercial support. My initial answer was, I want to check it with the community because it's a wider stuff. I've already reached a few of our biggest maintainers saying like, if we are willing to or would be interested to, basically people told me they will come back to this. And in general, my take is if we even go that, there will have to be some kind of accreditation, certification conditions. In example, if you want to be there, you have to help us with a maintaining community, meaning be RC tester, have this some kind of production environment committed where we can test these things. You give us feedback, maintainer on staff, or paid maintainership for somebody like a sponsorship. You get the gist. Like I don't want just blindly stab people logos on this page just because. I think it should be a two-way street. My general question is to the community and to maintainers is like, what would be your take? Plus, minus, okay. It's an open question.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can only speak, I think, for my employer, who I guess would be pretty happy with this. I do see the big point from MJ, and it also ties into the one thing I don't like about the current model in Rook is it's just the name here. Like it's a bit unclear what their at least contribution is to the project. So that's that. With regards to the hurdle, I am undecided what we want to do, where we want to draw the line. If we really want to say maintainer on staff is essentially the thing you need to have, or if we solely base it on contributions to allow the range to at least be a bit wider.
Yeah, I don't want to like come up with these things now. I don't think it's the right form and everything. I'm just thinking like, if you're saying you think it's a good idea, I'm gonna just come back saying like, yes, but there will be asterisks to this. And the asterisks, we don't know yet. And we need to come up with that asterisk basically.
Marco, go ahead.
Yeah, I like that idea, but the part that I don't like is requiring the maintainer on stuff, because then it will eventually become a battle that you have to get a maintainer, and then companies will try to do that. And I think being a maintainer has far-fetched implications all around the ecosystem.
Okay.
So this is not something that is easily, but I think what we can do is there is that dev stats thingy, and you can basically check how much is someone active in what area, and we require some dev stats score for that company. Like you have, I don't know, at least 200 dev stats score or something like that, and basically gate it that way.
Yeah. No, I think it's a fair point. That was just basically random idea of mine, and I totally agree. It's a bit trash. But I think it's like more for like what to make sure that companies who's on the list are confident and have a skills to do that. That's the main point. It's like not everybody should be there. And we should be able to ask for them for things like AC testing, at least, at minimum, basically. Cool. I don't gonna dwell in this too much. I suspect this will be a longer conversation, and I'm gonna start some asynchronous discussions when companies would be willing to step forward. You on mute?
Yep, sorry. So next thing actually is by me. So one thing I tripped over a little bit a couple of weeks ago was that in my head, I thought when we release a new KCP version, then we would also update Helm charts or the operator specifically. And I was wondering if we want to invest a little bit into automation, in the sense of we release a new KCP release, we open up a bot opens up a PR in operator, or in operator Helm chart to be precise, which like updates the default version of it, so that we just continuously have that automated, because I think it's easy to forget potentially. Bloop, bloop. Comments. All right, MJ, go ahead.
I think it's a good idea. We need that to do across the multiple repos, because it's KCP, it's a sync agent, basically every component we have in a Helm charts. Like it has to be a bit of hierarchical. So I would be +1 of this, but I think it's not that straightforward as it sounds.
Okay. So, I have to inform so people who are just watching the recording. So there's also a comment in chat which I've brought up from Lubomir. All right, so
Yeah, but I don't know if I can have sufficient knowledge to do this. Yes, to point it out.
Yeah, it's
all right, so this goes in direction. Okay, maybe I'll add this as a to-do for me to like read over this, look into this, so that we have this for like refinement or whatever we want to call it, that we have a look together at it, and then we have thought out solution, because I to be honest, I cannot review this on the top of my head. I need to think about this for a moment, but I add this as my to-do for myself.
Marco, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I am in general supportive of the idea. It's nice to have automations, but we have to make somehow people aware, whoever does releases, that it shouldn't be mechanical task. Like when you do a new KCP release, maybe there's some pending changes in KCP chart and operator, for example, to support new features. You want to make sure you don't forget that. So we have to be either careful about, when you're building a new feature, that you will need to change Helm charted operator to eventually require before merging that feature, that you prepare PRs for Helm charted operator so it doesn't get forgotten. Like right now, when it's manual, it has some idea we think a little bit about before releasing. When we start doing that automatically with PRs, we'll think less about releasing it, just merge the PR. So I think this is the only change in process that I would think about.
Yep. I like to say that before automating something end to end, it's better to have 5 buttons and just click those 5 buttons every time. And once you know it will work fine 10 times in a row, you connect them. So maybe something like that.
Yeah, but then I guess pull requests could be a really good way to have this. It opens a pull request. We keep track of those. All right. Then with this, we can move to the next topic. So I recently got an email, I guess all of us got, for Linux Foundation mentoring, which here's the exact proposal for it. So there's another cohort going for September, from September to November. Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up. I don't think I personally have the capacity to do it, but I wanted to at least let people know if someone wants to sign us up. I think one of the things we really, really want to do, right, is to attract new maintainers, and this could be a great way to do it. And I thought I'd bring it up in a community meeting so we quickly can talk about it. Yeah, MJ, go ahead.
Can you give a gist? Like what's the program is? Like what do we need to do?
So yeah, we basically need to think of it's called a program, I guess, in this sense. Probably Marco can basically tell much more, but I give my 2 cents on it, and then Marco, who has done mentoring before, can actually chime in. But the idea is you need to create like a program, which I would arguably say is like a 3-month plan of what you want to achieve with the candidate. And then mentoring, I think, is overall a bit individual, but there is, I forgot where it is. I don't think it's in this here somewhere, but there is, I can find it, maybe Marco knows, but there is some required check-ins that you're supposed to be doing. There's like a regular interval, which, I mean, makes sense. You need to check in on your mentee. Marco, go ahead.
Yeah, I have been a mentor a couple of years ago for LFX for Kubernetes. To be fair, how this works is that most of the time you will get some student who is, not very experienced, let's put it that way. This is meant towards people who are new to programming, who are new to open source. I'm now not 100% sure if, it is a requirement to be a student or something like that for LFX, but most of submissions turns out to be students. And basically, as Simon said, what you get is that you have free check-ins, and like you provide to the student or to mentee like what is to be, for the first milestone you finish this, for second milestone you finish that, for that, you agree with that, and then you evaluate student on like every month. If they fail, you fail them, and things like that. The problem is that I don't think we really have capacity for that as the project. Like for that, you need really good documentation in terms of like, how the project works, so someone can learn about the project. And then you need to actively spend time, guiding them, because it's likely that they don't have much experience. It is good for some smaller tasks, but larger task, in my experience, is a bit harder to make work. So that has to be kept in mind, that you will likely work with a junior engineer. MJ, you have a hand up.
Yeah, my comment is same. I think it's a nice program. I think I would have things what to work on, but not in the next 3 months. If somebody else wants to take this on from the project and work with this as a self-improvement task from maintainers, I mean, I think it's, yeah. But I'm same sentiment as Marco.
I just want to point out I've done it for Google Summer of Code many years ago, maybe around 2007, something like that. I had consecutive years with students. It's a big engagement from the maintainer side. The students usually what they wanted is the money and eventually a letter of reference, because some of them try to go to a company somewhere and you can immediately reference them as an intern that is capable of doing something. Of course, that predates AI. In LFX, I applied a couple of times. I didn't get a student, but I'm familiar with the process because I know the people in the CNCF that do it. The story is usually the same. The likelihood of getting a maintainer using this approach is not very high. So you're just going to, in a way, charity open source, if you know what I mean, from your time perspective.
Marco, you still have your hand up?
Yeah, because I was thinking about something right now. Actually, there is maybe something that we can use this as opportunity. I mean, I have to agree. I have to say it's a good program, but just we have to keep expectation a bit lower. But for example, documentation. Our documentation is a disaster right now. For example, we can find someone to rewrite our documentation. You know, you don't need a lot of experience. You can use AI to figure out stuff and how it works in the code base, check, and like it doesn't really, you know, it's not a lot of effort to even to mentor stuff like that. You would eventually have to answer questions and stuff like that. Eventually, what's another good project is like deflaking test or stuff like that. I think those are something that attracts people, and you know, people will get paid for that. And eventually, it's not too much engagement for our side, as we don't have too much time right now, but it can greatly benefit the project. So I would maybe think about better documentation if CNCF would allow that, if they don't require a coding task. So yeah, that is something that can be a good option.
Okay. Interesting. I would have assumed that coding, the documentation only task might be really unfulfilling for a mentee and therefore would be a bad match. Lumia.
I mean, as long, like Marco said, as long as the LFX team allows you can try. You can submit like a LFX project, and they might accept it. Probably not, because if it's something, especially now with AI and such, they probably became very strict on what is small and what is big. And after all, in some countries they're going to pay about 3.3K $1,000 per semester, so it's like 6,600. It's a good chunk of money, so the task has to be sufficiently bulky, if you know what I mean. And now with AI, I don't know what is their policy. I think they're probably slightly confused themselves. I mean, I can ask, but I see somebody in chat is wants to participate as a mentor.
Yeah, Ola, go ahead. I think you pitched in chat quickly.
I mean, I was also thinking if it's something I should volunteer for, but I think maybe we could try in the next circle instead of this. I mean, probably by then things could have been better.
Hmm.
I can't agree after KCPCon, because I would better put our efforts into KCPCon if people have free time versus this one, to
True.
be honest.
Yeah, that's a very, very valid point. Okay, I'm all for it. We'll postpone it for the next session, which is the session after KCPCon. And yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. You're right. I keep on thinking like, KCPCon, we've reviewed the submissions, but yeah, it's true. There's more work for this as well involved. Okay, moving on. Next topic is by MJ.
Okay, where is the button?
Do you want to share? Yeah.
Yeah, I will just open it. Cool. So there is a PR open. You see my screen, right?
Yes.
Check. So there is a PR open for 2 caps. I think now I could split it, but basically because I was writing one and got the understanding that it's out of scope, so I split it the second one. Idea is that currently, if you made a mistake in your API export design and you want to split it out, maybe you overcomplicated it, maybe you have too many types, basically, or you want to merge some things together because you went too much into the one or another side. It's almost impossible to do that, because once you delete an API binding from the user, the objects get purged automatically, because we have this code of delete collection in the background, and it just nukes everything. So first cap is to introduce this deletion policy. So deletion policy would be delete by default as it is now. So if empty, delete, and introduce a second one, which is wait for a successor. Basically and it has one more feature which is not expressed in YAML that much, but currently, if you have a second API binding in a system, in a same workspace, serving same type, as of 2 days ago, if you delete the first one, the types will not get deleted, but will be handed over to the follow-up. So wait for succession by default if one doesn't exist, like if one exists. So that's kind of helps for the mistakes, but I want us to be explicit and have this as a policy saying this would prevent even deletion of API binding, means API bindings would stay in a workspace until successor comes up. This means if you're migrating system from one API export to another, from one provider to another, you basically set wait for successor for all your API bindings via API export or some other ways. And you can migrate this in an eventual consistent way. So this is basically cap 1 in gist. I would recommend reading it through because I would like this to get merged and implemented, because there is some downtime implications that we need to put a workspace into maintenance mode. How do we do these things and things like that. Another cap, which is more complex, is about identity rotation. So when you split or merge an API exports, every object has to share same identity on the API export level. This is because the objects are persisted in a TCD using that identity key. What does this mean? If people start splitting and merging things for a long time, you will end up with multiple identities same in a system across the board. So CAP 05 introduces this concept of multiple identity hashes, so we can serve them in together. Export identity rotation objects. Okay, this API needs to change. It will be in a different group, but the idea is that now one can request an identity rotation, and what it will do, it will orchestrate the whole platform, the whole consumers, and rewrite etcd from one key to another. So it's very similar to logical cluster migration, but it migrates within same etcd from one key to another key. So I think this is a bit more complicated, but basically this, I think it covers most of the cases where I got already feedback from Christoph, from Robert, basically about drawbacks. So I think we fleshed some of these things. So I'm asking for a second round of review now if you're interested. So this one has a one big caveat where we would need to have now multiple identities, like identity hashes, basically. Because once we start migrating, we want to be able to serve on old and new identities for some time. I think that's mostly it. I don't want to go too much into details because I said it's asynchronous task for people to read out. But I would like this to get merged, or at least first part get merged soonish so we can implement it because we need it downstream.
Yeah, just one question for my own understanding on the first step. You mentioned that the user is supposed to provide a replacement. Is that supposed to be an API binding replacement that binds
Yes.
to an exact API expert with the exact API resource schemas? To be a
So I think there is somewhere in the document. Basically, it has to serve same schema. So API resource schema UID must match. It has to be. It's a different API export, can have a different name, but API resource schema UID is same. So it has to live in the same workspace, in the same location, and share the same identity secret.
Mm-hmm. And if it
So-
has more resource schemas, they also have to match.
So those, like if you have one big API export, you have potentially multiple API resource schemas and one secret. So when you're splitting, you have to share the secret and split, for example, API resource schemas into two exports. So some part goes to one, some part goes to another. I think I have even like a, let me just delete policy. Where are you? Here we go. So I have even the PR already for that, which has a test. But basically, you have an API export for Cowboys, you have a schema, and when you're splitting, if you're splitting to, okay, we'll not be able to read the code from there. But basically, if you have many and you're merging to one, you have to reuse API resource schemas. If you have one and splitting out, they have to go to separate ones and they have to share the secret. I think now I'm thinking out loud, you will not be able to merge from many to one. I need to check on that.
Mm-hmm. That's another use case. Yeah.
Merge from many to one. Because I think I covered this one from one to many, but not many to one. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I understand this better. Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? I invite people to read it out. Simon, you went into the thinking land.
I went to the KCP users channel for a short time and then thought of something. But maybe to give. Oh, are we at any other business? No, right?
I have one.
Okay, because
So-
I have teeny tiny thing for any other business, because I think people might know that I've been chasing down like a performance issue for like God knows how long. Good news is I think we already had a fix. Bad news is we didn't backport it to 0.32, which it has just merged. I've just finished running against our current release branch of 0.32, and that also successfully finishes. So we could cut a patch release soonish.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all from my side.
Let me show one more thing. Cool. So you might know that we have, if you don't, you might learn, we have a tilt setup in KCP. This means it allows you to do basically development with either hot reload or static environments. In this case, we have a tilt file, which is rebuildable, means every time you change a KCP code, it's going to rebuild the binaries and redeploy it live. Even have a tilt static file, which deploys a static released KCP component for when you use KCP in external projects like that. Even have a functions to help to integrate with wider stuff. But that's not the point. If you run it now, example, so this is a static one, you get quite a few things in there, like a Grafana, Loki, Envoy, things like that. So example, you can immediately check what's happening in your system. And if you do I think in this case, okay, I'm in some wrong config. But what I wanted to show is that I've been wipe coding a bit, and I want to add something else into our contrib directory. Is a minimalistic explorer, basically, which would be integrated in the same tilt. So if you run tilt with a portal, you get this guy immediately, and you can inspect API bindings, see what people are requesting on a provider's API exports, like basically Explorer, or even check for Objects Explorer and see what's happening in there in different stuff. And the idea is to have like some OEDC support if you want to have that, but basically start building a UI, because people are visual beasts, and we already know that it's sometimes hard to explain what it is without UI. And as now tilt is one command away to have a full-fledged cluster, I was thinking adding this in a contrips repository. And I just was thinking what people think, and if it would be okay, potentially even build an image so people can use it. And we can extend it as said to have more stuff in there. Simon.
Real quick, but I understood this correctly. So the UI code itself would basically live in a separate repository.
I want to put it in a contrips folder to be close to the code.
Because I wonder if we open the door for people requesting things for the UI.
It's like, if they want something from UI, I would say let's them add these things in the UI themselves, because we already have a quite extensive tilt setup here. We have like local dev scripts, and if we just throw this in with its own tilt file. We can always say to requests, just go and do it. And like, I don't know. It's
I mean, so my whole point is, I think for the majority of all the, or if not even all of the code almost in KCP repository, I feel, how to say, a personal responsibility for the code. Obviously, that doesn't mean everyone gets everything they want and stuff. And I'm having, like, in my head currently a tough time fulfilling this for front end, but maybe I just need to expand my front end skills.
your AI skills. It's like, I don't expect, like, AI, this is why I chose like TypeScript, Vue. Like, it's one of the highest benchmarking frameworks when it comes to AI front-end developments. Like, basically, the framework was not picked up randomly. Like, I've been doing AI web development for the last like a year, 2 years now. So the dependencies and things I picked up is very explicit, because I found out they are very quite well maintained. So I don't know, like, we can throw it to the external repository, but we already have a bit of, let's say, dumping ground in a contrips repo. And it's easier, closer with all the tilt setup. I don't know.
Not sure, maybe I'm the only one that has reservations. Not sure how do the others feel about it, because I don't want to be the sole blocker now for this. That I would feel bad.
No, I kind of agree. I also find it weird to have this large chunk of Vibe coded code in the KCP repository. It's kind of like, when I see a KCP repository, I see a big project that's Vibe coded, I immediately question the rest of the repository. I've also seen in other projects at work now what happens if you have mainly Go developers being bombarded with Dependabots alerts about random Node.js packages, where I couldn't do any meaningful upgrades because, yeah, front end. So if anything, I would favor putting it in an extra repository. I don't care which one. But otherwise, it's nice. It's sexy. But I also don't use AI anymore, so I would be not able to work on this at all.
Country portal, something like that, external repo.
I already foresee, that's sorry, unrelated to KCP, but I foresee messiness using the word portal already in a different project. So maybe Explorer is a better word. Because Portal gives me vibes of, oh, I can log in and manage users and everything. Explorer,
but that's, I
more
think
low-level.
that's a goal, like in the long term, to be able to manage users, some configurations. Like, ClickOps is a thing, and we just can't ignore it, to be honest. I think if it grows to that, like, I would be happy, because we need something like this to attract more people in a community.
It's the third competing KCP UI I've worked on now.
So why none of them are under KCP repo? If somebody has a better one,
Because
and is willing
Kubernetes
to put it
dashboard is
in,
also not under kuberepo.
yeah. But if somebody, like, is there anywhere outside one which we can reuse, like not in our repos?
I'm not against having one. I'm just against having it in the KCP repository.
Okay,
but I would
so let's
suggest
put it
calling it
put it to external one.
Dashboard is also a fine name.
Which name?
Dashboard.
Dashboard.
Because we have Kubernetes dashboard, KCP dashboard.
Yeah, dashboard.
Oh no, Kubernetes dashboard is deprecated.
Dashboard, I think I like it. We can do that. But yeah, again, if somebody knows somewhere in a Git multi-million repos existing KCP portal which we can use, I would be gladly using that.
Yep. Well, I like this dashboard. I just want to comment on something else. This is the tilt setup. I when I was deploying Costa API in the past, you have separate controllers running into this tilt instances on the left side. If you actually structure your source code, you have 20, 30 controllers, and then you build them as separate images, you can actually see them on the left side tilt. And when you release the KCP, you can then squash them into the same. But that's really powerful because then it allows you to go, okay, the replication controller is broken. I need to go and try to fix that part specifically. It recompiles only that. So it's really, tilt helps with that part at least very nicely.
Yes, we didn't have yet. We didn't need it yet. This because I think apart me and Nilo, nobody uses that tool actively. But I would recommend people to looking at that because I think it's one of the more powerful development tools out there, which is a bit of unappreciated.
I think it was good that you did some advertisement for it now, because I was not aware actually that, like, I saw the complaints, but I was not aware it was this advanced. That would be.
It's like the main advantage is it's a hot reload complex systems. Like when you have multiple shards, multiple controllers, you change the Go code and it hot reloads them directly into the container. Not the image rebuild, but a hot binary swap. This means it's n times faster. Cool. So dashboard it is. Once my agent's tokens refresh, I'm gonna push it in the next few days. Cool.
All right. With this, any last minutes, any other business open floor? Now is your last chance. Going once, going twice. Sold. All right, then that's it. Thank you everybody for joining. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Marco, this is just